step, hand, hand, foot, foot.
By all appearances, Allie and Zoe Sorter are typical 10-year-olds. Twins who share everything.
They're so into each other's world.
They both like gymnastics, music, and American Girl dolls. But for many years, they've also shared something else few people knew about.
I would say once a week we had bedwetting accidents.
For parents Missy and Sean, the accidents became part of an excruciating journey, one that started out much like any parent's potty training challenges.
Well, I thought first it would be easy because it's 2 kids. Piece of cake, right? You get 2 potty chairs and 2 stacks of books and 2 jars of M&Ms, and this is going to be really easy and fun.
They soon realized the process would be anything but easy or fun.
She tried it several times and would get all exasperated because it just never would work.
And they just couldn't do it. They had no control. And I threw up my hands in defeat, and I thought, okay, this is me. I'm going to try this again in 6 months.
But 6 months grew into 6 years and more.
So then we tried again. And we tried again, and we tried again, and they just were not clicking as to the control part. And then I was frustrated thinking, gosh, what in the world, you know? And you want to be frustrated and yell and say something, and you can't because you know that's not going to help. Probably 2 or 3 times a week they were having accidents at school. They had an extra set of clothes in their backpack.
You know, they would just go and they would change. They were fortunate that no one ever made fun of them at school.
You could tell it was embarrassing for them. They haven't gone to sleepovers because it's embarrassing to wet the bed on a sleepover, and they understand that. You know, that's horrible.
What's worse is the accidents weren't the only problem.
Then Allie started getting infections. And so she would get bladder infections, and it would hurt a lot when she would go to the bathroom. It went into a kidney infection with a high fever. It was almost every 6 weeks she would have an infection. Zoe didn't have nearly as many infections, but had the same problems. And they couldn't figure out why.
She was on, antibiotics just all the time, and it wasn't normal. And I kind of felt like at first, it's like no one's really listening, that this is happening too much.
Desperate for answers, the Sorters' doctor referred them to American Family Children's Hospital on the UW-Madison campus.
This is definitely a situation that many families don't want to be in. When they first come to their first few appointments, they're just so frustrated and they're not sure this is going to work either.
She said, "You're never going to believe this, but Dr. McKenna is going to change your whole world." And I was like, what? How are you going to change my whole world, really? And she said, "We're done with long-term antibiotics."
I'm from Missouri. I was born in Missouri, so it's a show me state, right? So I want to, I'll believe it when I see it kind of deal.
Actually, that's exactly how Dr. Patrick McKenna felt himself when he first saw the Biofeedback games on display at a medical conference.
It was a computer game initially developed for astronauts who were in space, and they thought they'd lose their muscle mass, so they had these games to play. And I walked up to the fellow, and he was actually a NASA scientist. So after we talked for a while, he said, "Do you have any use for my games?" And he gave me all of the games. Well, I'm not a big believer in biofeedback, but we have such poor results in treating children with incontinence that maybe we could set up a program and see if we could use these games in some way.
Dr. McKenna's team thought they might be able to use the games to help children learn to control their bladders.
And we set up a study where we did about 60 patients.
The results of that first study were stunning.
There was an 80% success rate in curing incontinence without any medicine.
That seemed impossible because the standard success rate at the time was only 20% using invasive methods and medication.
I was really nervous about presenting this nationally because we didn't think people would believe us.
That research would change the course of Dr. McKenna's career and the lives of countless children.
We knew that there was something that needed to be done. I was like, okay, let's see what this does.
No medicine, no surgery, just learning to play an unconventional video game.
Obviously, I thought it was too good to be true. How can you fix her that easily? We tried a lot of other things and nothing had fixed her.
And it happens all the time. It's a big game changer. And why? Because it works.
But would it work for the Sorter twins? Coming up, see exactly how the program works and find out if it makes any difference at all for Allie and Zoe.
I don't want my kids to be in high school and college suffering with this same thing that we could have fixed.
That's why twins Allie and Zoe Sorter are trying an unusual program for a problem few people talk about.
They were still having accidents.
We used to just think, are our girls different? Is it just them? But it's a lot more common than we originally believed.
There's so many children, probably over 10 million in the United States, that suffer from these problems.
You have to dig deep and find a way to help your kid. You know, no matter if it's embarrassing or not.
The sorters hope their answer comes in this biofeedback program in which children learn to control a video game using only their pelvic muscles.
They're talking about playing video games. You're like, how's that going to work?
We placed electrodes across the abdomen and on their back and then right up on the pelvic floor. Muscles are going to be shown here, all right? And let's see what you look like.
Then they're hooked up to this little machine that can then read their muscle strength and weakness, and all their movements are then recorded on the screen so that they can see them.
Try and relax these legs, okay?
Julia was so patient and could teach them how you squeeze your kegels and your muscles in your pelvic floor. And they would learn that they can tighten and relax that muscle.
Up, up, up. Hold it. They really can look at the monitor and go, oh, that's me.
So they learn through pictures what the muscles are doing.
And they can play games. They can grow flowers on the screen using their Kegel muscles. The kids are never nervous or scared because it's so much fun.
It just seemed very different, but at the same time, it gave us hope.
Very good. Good job.
But the biofeedback games were just the start.
Education is a big part of this, and understanding how the system works.
So that we can help them at home. It's about changing your whole lifestyle. It's a whole formula that he's put together. We got them watches that buzz every 2 hours. It reminds them that they have to go to the bathroom. It's a water bottle that calculates how many ounces they drink.
Yay, good job.
The kids have to do 30 minutes of exercises every day where they actually just lay and contract their muscles. I think there's a whole picture of how it's going to get better.
They've taken it and flown with it.
Even though they were skeptical at first, it didn't take long before they became believers.
It really worked faster than I would have expected it to work.
Then the next time we went back, you could tell that they had been doing it because their muscles were much stronger when they contracted, and you could tell that it was working.
It's such a wonderful feeling to put that child in a position where they find freedom, where they're like, oh, this doesn't control me anymore.
I would say within the first month, their accidents totally stopped. I mean, we haven't thought about packing extra clothes in their backpack for months.
And it turns out the biofeedback program does more than stop the accidents.
It's impacted on all of these other things that we weren't expecting. Like one of the side effects of the program was it wiped out recurrent urinary tract infections. We get the children to learn how to void normally and their infections go away.
4 or 5 months later, and neither one of them had any infections. That's where, to me, I knew that it was a must. It had to happen.
I didn't think we would get here without going through surgery.
I was doing about 130 of these operations a year in children that have recurrent urinary tract infections. I really don't do that operation anymore. Children really don't get any invasive studies anymore. Less than 15% need medication. And we're approaching a cure rate of close to 100% now.
I can wake up every day in my career and go, ah, this is good.
I think it's worth it in every way. The alternative is to continue to have accidents and to continue to have to be on long-term antibiotics.
I thought, honestly, this might be something that the girls deal with the rest of their lives. I didn't know if we were going to have long-term kidney damage that they would deal with forever, and I didn't know there was actually something out there that could fix that for them.
They're just a good example of exactly how it works.
It's not that they're stubborn. It's not that they weren't trying. It's not that it was a failure on my part as a parent potty training. It's not any of that. It's just how they were. And now we have this tool to make them better. I mean, it's absolutely a freeing feeling to know that they have a different result in their life because of this.
Hey, there is hope.
He's absolutely changed the future of what the kids are going to deal with. He's changed our lives.